Hello, welcome back to the channel. I'm Crazy Haired Kevbot. We're going to be going over the Hexwarp Thrallband today. We've been doing some different videos. These are outside of my normal release schedule, obviously, because why would I wait to do these? So, if you guys have been liking these videos, make sure you thunderhammer all the buttons, specifically the like, subscribe, and bell icon, and then check out our other videos, leave a comment, and then check out the other channel as well. Alright, I think I did it all. So, Hexwarp Thrallband. This is what we got for Thousand Suns. Is it going to be as good as their current detachment? Probably not, but let's take a look. So, our detachment rule is the flow of magic. Certain areas of the battlefield are within your army's flow of magic as follows. Your deployment zone is always within your flow of magic. At the start of any phase, so any phase, shooting phase, movement phase, charge phase, any phase. At the start of any phase, if you control at least half of the objective markers within No Man's Land, until the end of that phase, No Man's Land is considered to be within your army's flow of magic. At the start of any phase, if you control at least half of the objective markers within your opponent's deployment zone, until the end of the phase, your opponent's deployment zone is within your army's flow of magic. So what do we get for being in the flow of magic? Each time a Thousand Suns model from your army makes a psychic attack, reroll a wound roll of 1. If such a model is wholly within your army's flow of magic, each time it makes a psychic attack, add 1 to the wound roll as well. Okay, so we always get reroll 1s to wound. We reroll wound rolls of 1, and then we're plus 1 to wound. So you can get both of these at the same time. So that's not bad, actually. Is it better than having the option to choose dev wounds every turn, or sustained hits, or usually just dev wounds? I think that remains to be seen, because this is pretty good. This means all of your flamers are plus 1 to wound and rerolling 1s to wound. You don't really need it on flamers, though, because they already reroll wounds if you're on an objective, so it's not seeming as good. But this is what we got for our enhancements. Our first one is Arcane Might for 20 points. This is a Thousand Suns unit or model only. You add 1 to the strength characteristic of psychic weapons equipped by models in the bearer's unit. While the bearer's unit is wholly within your army's flow of magic, you add 2 to the strength characteristic of psychic weapons instead. So this is going to be like your psychic flamers and like all of your characters and the sergeants in the unit. They all have a psychic weapon of some kind. So those will all be plus 1 strength. Again, I'm not sure that it's better than having... Just in general, I'm not sure it's better than having just dev wounds on them, because that just ignores everything. But this is actually pretty useful, especially on some of the characters that have some pretty strong flamers or just some pretty strong psychic weapons in general. Adding 2 to the strength of those could actually go a long way. There's a lot to consider when it comes to Thousand Suns because they have like a million different things going on, and I don't actually play them actively. We have a guy in our group, he won Best Thousand Suns player at ACO. He's the guy to ask, but I think that this is actually pretty good, just all things considered. So, let's move on to Empowered Manifestation for 20 points. This is on a Thousand Suns model only. While the bearer's unit is wholly within your army's flow of magic, you add 6 to the range of psychic abilities that the bearer has that specify a range, including rituals, which is important. And each time a model in the bearer's unit makes a hazardous test for a psychic weapon, you can reroll the result. It's not bad. Adding 6 inches to the range of psychic abilities, including rituals, is very interesting. That allows you to hit things that are further away, obviously, with like Doombolt and stuff. That's actually pretty good, because some of these abilities, they don't have a whole lot of range all the time. So I think that this enhancement is just good, just based on the fact that you can add range to ritual abilities as well. And then rerolling the hazardous test, that's just kind of nice to have. Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's a good one. Empiric Onslaught's our next one for 25 points. Thousand Suns model only. I don't know why they need to specify this. I just don't understand. While the bearer's unit is wholly within your army's flow of magic, add 3 to the attack's characteristic of ranged psychic weapons equipped by the bearer, not the bearer's unit. You only ever really have like 2 psychic weapons in the bearer's unit, but you can use a strat to make them all psychic weapons, so I can understand why they didn't want you to add 3 to the attack's characteristics of all your bolt guns, making them 5 shots apiece. That would have been worth taking this detachment over. Actually, no, it wouldn't, because that's a stratagem from a different detachment, so what am I even talking about? Never mind. Completely ignore what I just said. Plus 3 to your attack's characteristic. Certain weapons this is going to be better on than others. This is pretty nice on a flamer, because now your flamer is like 3 plus D6, or maybe even more than that. So I think it's okay. and I just don't love it. I just don't love it. Yeah, the bearer himself. All right, and then our last one is the Noctilith Mantle, not to be confused with the Noctilith Crown. The Noctilith Mantle is on a Thousand Suns model only. While the bearer's unit is on the battlefield, it is wholly within your army's flow of magic. Models in that unit cannot be selected to use any rituals. So basically they have this all the time. They add one to the wound roll all the time, but you can't select them for any rituals. Interesting. Hello, cat. I'd have to do a little bit more thinking outside of this video to understand if that's good or not. So I'm just going to move on, and we're going to go over the stratagems. Our first one is the Warding Hex for 1 CP. It looks like all of them are 1 CP. The Warding Hex happens in the command phase, not your command phase, just the command phase. You target a Thousand Suns Psyker unit from your army that is within range of an objective marker you control. What does it stand to your control? Yeah, so it's just sticky objectives. So the objective marker remains under your control until your opponent's level of control over that objective marker is greater than yours at the end of a phase. Fine. Wrath of the Doomed, 1 CP. This happens in the fight phase just after an enemy unit selects its targets. You target a Thousand Suns unit from your army that was the target of those attacks. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit is destroyed, if that model has not fought, roll a d6, adding 1 to the result if you're wholly within your flow of magic. On a 4-up, you don't remove it from play, instead it gets to fight and then it's removed from play. So it's a fights on death strat. If you're in your flow of magic area wholly within, then it's on a 3-up instead of a 4-up. So Terminators, basically, is what you're going to want to use this on. Potentially Magnus, I suppose, if he's wholly within. That's a 3-up chance to just swing on death. So that's pretty good. It's 1 CP. It's not bad. Then you have the Strands of Time for 1 CP. This is a movement phase strat. Just after a Thousand Suns Psyker unit from your army falls back, you target that Psyker. Until the end of the phase, your unit is eligible to shoot or declare a charge in a turn in which it fell back. If your unit is wholly within your army's flow of magic when targeted by this stratagem, then until the end of the turn, your unit is eligible to shoot and declare a charge in a turn in which it fell back. So you get one or the other. You can fall back and charge, or you can fall back and shoot. If you're wholly within the flow of magic, you can do both. Pretty decent to have. I mean, I like stratagems that allow you to fall back, shoot, and charge, because I use them often when I'm playing Votann. So I'm just trying to think of a unit that it's really good on. I guess like if you were to get locked in combat by accident, so somebody piles into you and you're kind of stuck in combat and you don't want to be there, then your unit of Flamer, Rubric Marines, or whatever it might be can then fall back and then shoot and clear that unit out. So it does have some useful abilities there, some useful use cases, I suppose. Through the Veil is our next one. This is 1 CP. At the start of the reinforcement step of your movement phase, you target a Rubric Marine or Scarab Occult Terminator unit from your army. If it's a Rubric Marine unit, until the end of the phase, it has Deep Strike. What? Okay. And then when your unit is set up on the battlefield using the Deep Strike ability, if it's a Scarab Occult Terminator unit, it can be set up anywhere on the battlefield that is wholly within your army's flow of magic and more than 6 inches horizontally away from all enemy units. Restriction here is if a Scarab Occult Terminator unit is targeted with this stratagem, it is not eligible to declare a charge in the same turn. Let me read this one again for you guys. If it is a Rubric Marines unit, until the end of the phase, it has the Deep Strike ability. Okay, so it's in the reinforcement step of your movement phase, so it's when you bring things on from reserve. So basically the way that this would work is you would keep a unit of Rubric Marines in reserve, probably all with Flamers, because that's what you would do. So you'd keep them in reserve, and then when it comes time to actually put them on the table using Strategic Reserve, you use this instead, give them Deep Strike, put them down within 6 inches, they just destroy something, and they are eligible to charge in that case. You only can't charge if it's Scarab Occult Terminators. Let me know if I misread that, but I'm just going to move on to the next one. Scourging Warp Flame, 1 CP. It's in your shooting phase. You target a Thousand Suns Psyker unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot and is wholly within your flow of magic. Until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models in your unit have ignores cover. After your unit has shot this phase, select one or more enemy units hit by those attacks. Until the end of the phase, models in that unit cannot have cover. Okay, so it takes away cover. That's all this does. It's not bad. You shoot something with like Magnus or something, he ignores cover. Then anything else shooting that thing also ignores cover. Maybe that's a bad example, but you could shoot like 9 Flamers somewhere, shoot the Sergeant's psychic attack somewhere else, ignore cover there, but then also anything else shooting at that target can also ignore cover. So ignoring cover is +1 AP in most situations, so being able to give things +1 AP, pretty good. We then have Kaleidoscopic Tempest. That's a word. That's a phrase. That's 1 CP. It's in your opponent's shooting phase. Just after an enemy unit selects its targets, you target a 1,000 Sun Psyker unit from your army that was selected as a target of one or more of those attacks. Until the end of the phase, your unit has stealth. And if it's wholly within your flow of magic, each time an attack targets your unit, it has a benefit of cover. So you get stealth and cover. So you basically get the go-to-ground stratagem. That's kind of what this does. 1,000 Sun Psyker unit, so it can be an entire squad of guys, it could be Magnus, it can kind of be whatever, because most of your stuff is going to be a 1,000 Sun Psyker unit. So, is it better than the original detachment? The Cult of Magic, I think it's called. I don't think it is. I think being able, there's just good stuff you can do there. But maybe. Being able to add one to the wound roll, if you're wholly within the flow of magic, like if you're playing in a way where you're taking a bunch of the objectives, and you're kind of just being aggressive, you can then have the entire midboard up until your opponent's deployment zone be within your flow of magic. That means you're +1 to wound, and you're rerolling wounds of 1. So it's just not bad, especially on like things that aren't flamers. You can now have bolt guns. You can now have bolt guns that are now +1 to wound, rerolling 1s to wound, and they're AP2. And they could be ignoring cover with this other stratagem that we saw down here. So there's some interesting stuff you can do here. I'm not really going to spend a whole lot of time trying to think about combos and exactly what might make something better than another thing from a different detachment when I'm making these videos. I'm just making these to kind of go over it so that we know what they do, and to kind of just tell you guys what it's all about. So that's going to be our Hexwarp Thrallband. That is a phrase. It's hard for me to say. But that's going to be it for the Hexwarp Thrallband. If you guys liked the video, thunderhammer the like, subscribe, and bell icon. Check out the other videos, leave a comment, tell me how terrible I am at making these, or tell me how great I am. I'll take either one. So that's going to do it. I'll see you guys next time. Theory hard, and I'll see you back at the lab.